Alright guys, welcome to First and Goal. I'm your host, Flavo Rihanna, brought to you by Four Corner Sports. Guys, Jets Commanders happened on Christmas Eve. The week prior, there was a bad game. Jets ended up facing the Dolphins. They got blanked. They got shut out. I think it was a 24-0, and it killed any hopes and aspirations for them to trying to get, to the playoffs, and they were eliminated from playoff contention, right? Well, have no fear. What's it called? The Jets with no expectations. They come up big. And, coming into this game, I'm like, you know what? The Commanders, I thought they were going to have a lot of high expectations, possibly, ramp themselves up into, possibly getting to a playoff, right? And I'm thinking to myself, I was like, you know what? They have the ability to, coming into the season, right? Obviously, all of that, failed, right? And you ended up having, the Commanders ended up trading Montez Sweat, trading Chase Young. Obviously, both those guys are flourishing in their respective teams that they were traded in, right? And now you have a very diminished, Commander squad who looks like they are on the way to, firing their head coach, Ron Rivera, right? They're also on the verge of, who knows? They might be cleaning house. Eric Bieniemy, who many people thought that he was going to take over the reins over Ron Rivera. Who knows if he remains there? Who's to say that he doesn't go back to Kansas City? Because Kansas City looks like a dump right now with their receivers dropping everything, but a bar of soap. And man, guys, well, everything in, whatever. But Jets coming, they played their final home game. Aaron Rodgers, declared himself as, active, but, he's not going to be playing in these games. And Jets don't have Zach Wilson. So who do they have? No, they don't have Boyle. Tim Boyle is cut. You have the only Trevor Siemian. My man threw 27 for 49, one touchdown, one interception, all right, 217 yards. Breece Hall came back to life for the first time since week 5. All right, 20 rushes for 95 yards and 2 rushing touchdowns. That's what I like to see from Breece Hall because he was killing it prior to that Denver Bronco game from the year before. All right, so it looks like he is slowly starting to get on track, onto the right direction. You had Israel Abanikanda, if I'm not pronouncing it incorrectly, 9 rushes for 43 yards. Breece Hall was a monster also on receiving, 12 receptions for 96 yards. Man almost accumulated 200 yards rushing and receiving. Garrett Wilson, 9 receptions for 76 yards. That man has been very consistent. Tyler Conklin, 4 receptions for 36 yards. Xavier Gibson, 1 reception. Jason Brownlee, 1 reception. And they were playing. The Jets had a very diminished roster because of injuries, right? But they still managed to get the victory done. I mean, look, in the first quarter, it was, Jets ended up leading 17-0 at the first quarter, 27-7 going into halftime. And you're like, wow, like this is great. This is what you want to see from the Jets. Unfortunately, they only scored 3 points in the second half, and that was more than enough for them to hold on from them blowing a potentially outrageous lead. The Jets, come out as the winners. They get their 6th win on the season. Jets have already had 4 different starting quarterbacks this year. Aaron Rodgers, Zach Wilson, Tim Boyle, Trevor Siemian. It's a lot of quarterbacks that you gone throughout the list. All right. Very unfortunate what happens to Rodgers. I mean, it's not really a surprise when you look at it now on his age and stuff like that. But man, what a what a 180 this season was supposed to be for the Jets. It turned out to be the complete opposite. One can only imagine that this is going to bring them momentum going to face Cleveland, which a lot of people are picking the Cleveland Browns to defeat the New York Jets. And the Jets, I feel like, they're going to have a very tough time trying to block and trying to give Simeon some time, because the Jets don't really have a good offensive line. And Cleveland is, known to have one of the best defense in all of football. So they were able to give the 49ers a tough time on trying to get, the ball thrown down the field. One can only imagine what's that going to look like against the New York Jets, right? Commanders, man, they stink, man. They're terrible, all right? They haven't been the same since, like, week 3. They're 4-11, all right? They have Jacoby Brissett and Sam Howell. Jacoby Brissett had to take over for Sam Howell. Chris Rodriguez Jr. for 2 touchdowns on 58 yards rushing. Terry McLaurin, I feel bad for that man because he's a really good wideout. 3 receptions for 50 yards. Logan Thomas, when he's healthy, he is a really big deal at tight end. He ended up getting a touchdown, 5 receptions for 36 yards. But overall, Washington didn't really have much of a chance against that New York Jets defense until they got, very comfortable, and then they slowly started to, revamp themselves into, trying to, trying to steal the win from the Jets at home. Jets overall, I don't know if we see Zach Wilson play again the rest of the season because he's in concussion protocol. But I do believe this, guys. If the Jets can find a way on winning at least one of these next 2 games, this will go a really long way. I like the fact that they're winning because they are playing themselves out of drafting, a quarterback inside the top 5. I don't think they need a quarterback, especially if Aaron Rodgers is going to be back with the team next year. One can only hope that he's going to remain healthy. But I would like for them to build within that offensive line. That offensive line is like a turnstile. People just come and go whenever they want, right? They can never block whoever's in front of them. Well, I personally do believe that if they play themselves out of that quarterback area from 1 to 5, right, which they're not going to get the number 1 overall pick because Carolina owns that, right, which that was traded for Chicago. I do feel this, guys. Jets next year, with a good improved offensive line, and then getting the wide receiver from free agency, as opposed to them trying to use one of their high draft picks to draft Marvin Harrison Jr. or trade multiple first round picks for Devontae Adams. I feel like they could just build it within the draft and they'll get a whole lot better. Will the Jets carry this momentum into Cleveland? I highly doubt it. I really do believe that the Jets, it was just a roller coaster of a season that unfortunately Robert Saleh had to endure once again, having a season without having a true quarterback that he can rely on. But we'll see what happens. Final 2 weeks are going to be coming up really, really soon. It's not going to really matter for the New York Jets. Overall, it's going to, determine how things will play out for each individual player. But until then, guys, I am Flavio Oriana. Thanks for tuning in, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.